Okay, I'm going to be telling you the story of Christmas, how it happened. And I think the things that you should know, I will be telling you. Elizabeth was on her knees praying. Her husband tiptoed into the room where she was. Is she still praying for a son? He asked. After all these years, if only God had given us a son. Now we're too old to have children and have no one to carry our name. Elizabeth got up from her knees. Are you still praying for a son? Asked Zechariah. No, said Elizabeth, I'm too old to have children, but I felt very close to the Lord. I was telling him how much I loved him and wanted to obey him. Please pray for me today too, said Zechariah. It is the most important day for my life. I have been chosen to offer incense in the holy place of the temple. To Zechariah, this was the chance of a lifetime. As a member of the tribe of Levi, Levi was a special tribe in Israel. They were priests, they were ministers. And as a priest of the temple of Jerusalem, Zechariah was to offer incense in the holy place. Incense was something special that smelled very beautiful unto the Lord, so that the Lord would be pleased. When Zechariah entered the temple, it was evening. A great crowd stood outside the temple court praying, as they always did. Zechariah entered into the holy place expecting to offer up the incense and then go back to the people outside and lead them in prayer, as he always did. Suddenly, he stopped praying. He saw an angel standing at the right side of the altar. Zechariah was terrified because he had never seen something like that before. Don't be afraid, said the angel. God has heard your prayers and your wife's prayers. God is going to give you a son, and you are to name him John. He will bring great joy and gladness. He will be one of the Lord's great prophets, and many people will turn to God because of him. Most importantly, he will prepare the people for the coming of the Messiah. The Messiah is Jesus. Zechariah couldn't believe what he had just heard. That's impossible, he said. My wife and I are too old to have a child. I am the angel of God, said Gabriel. God sent me to bring you these good news. The angel said, but you refused to believe it. Because you didn't believe, you won't be able to speak until the child is born. Then as suddenly as the angel had appeared, he disappeared. Zechariah stayed a long time in the holy place, and the people wondered what happened to him. Where is he at? When he finally came out, the people waited for him to speak, but he couldn't talk. Just like the angel said, you won't be able to speak because you didn't believe. He gestured to the people with his hands to let them know that he could not talk. Zechariah stayed in the temple to finish his work, but he could hardly wait to go home and tell Elizabeth the good news. When he arrived home, he wrote on a piece of paper, Elizabeth, we're going to have a child. At first, it must have seemed impossible for Elizabeth to believe, but as the weeks and months went by, Elizabeth could hardly wait for the baby to be born. When it was time for the baby to be born, it was a boy, just as the angel had said. Friends and relatives were happy for the new baby, but Elizabeth and Zechariah were the happiest of all. Zechariah probably shouted with joy when the baby was born. He could speak again, just as the angel said. When the baby is born, then you shall be able to speak. God is not bound by our human limitations. Zechariah doubted God because to him, having a child at his age was an impossibility. Sometimes we too do not believe God can make things happen. The mistake of trusting our family, faulty reasons and experiences, but God, for God, there's nothing impossible.
Do you guys like that story? Do you have any questions?